There's a new neighbor in town, and she hates my garden gnome. Hi, I'm here with a story about a neighbor from hell. My neighbor Karen moved in a few months ago. She came over to introduce herself and let me know that she was a little worried about the gnome sitting on my porch. She said it was creepy, and she didn't like the way it was staring at her house. I told her it wasn't staring, it was just sitting there, but she insisted that I move it because it was giving her the willies. I didn't want to upset my new neighbor, so I brought the gnome inside. A few days later, I was working in my yard, and she came out to check on me. She said, "You haven't put the gnome back out yet. Are you going to put the gnome back out? It's kind of creepy if you ask me." And I said, "Karen, it's a garden ornament. It's not creepy." She said, "Well, it's your creepy garden ornament. I don't want to see it anymore." So I went inside, and I put the gnome back in the garden. A few days later, I get a strongly worded letter in the mail. I open it up and it says, "To the resident at 123 Maple Drive, it has come to my attention that you have a creepy garden gnome on your property. This is a family-friendly neighborhood, and I don't think that it's appropriate for you to have such a creepy decoration. I demand that you remove it immediately." I read that to my husband. I said, "What should I do?" He said, "You should put the gnome back in the garden." So I did. The next day, Karen comes over to my house, starts banging on my door. I'm like, "What the hell?" And she's all worked up saying, "I demand that you take that gnome down immediately. It's ugly and creepy and I don't want to look at it anymore." So I invited her in, and I offered her a drink, and I asked her why she hated the gnome so much, and she said, "It's just creepy. You shouldn't have it." And then she started crying, and I was like, "Whoa, this lady's crazy." And I just gave her a glass of water and let her calm down a little bit. Then I told her that I understood how she felt, and that I was sorry that she found the gnome offensive. But it was my property, and I could do what I wanted with it. And then she got really angry and she started yelling at me. So I just walked away. Well, she went home and wrote another letter. This time it was even angrier than the last one. And then she took it to the HOA. The HOA sided with her even though I had done nothing wrong. They sent me a letter saying that I had to remove the gnome or I would be fined. So I removed the gnome, and I haven't seen Karen since. That was my story about Karen hates my garden gnome.